Hi, Keerthi, how are you? And I've seen your blog.
Hi, Gurleen. I'm doing good. What blog are you talking about?
I have read your blog, which is your Tailwind blog. It seems like you are very much interested in UI.
Absolutely. I've been drawn by the fascinating world of UI. But there seems like a hiccup on the road. Have you heard of this term generative AI?
Yeah, the genie is out of the bottle. It seems like the way how things work will change after generative AI has came into picture.
Yeah, exactly. That's my problem. So, seeing the pace that generative AI is evolving in, will there be a need for UI developer, or for that matter, any developer in 5 or 10 years?
Yeah, definitely. This is how a generative AI works. So let's move ahead.
So, indeed, on that note, welcome to Unfold UI. Thanks for joining us for this lightning talk on will UI developers be replaced by Gen AI. I'm Keerthivasan. Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
I'm Keerthivasan and this is Gurleen Kaur. We are prompt engineers and application developers working here at Thoughtworks.
So like you, we are also curious that how generative AI is going to impact our professional lives. So let's get started. So before getting into if generative AI is going to replace UI devs and all, first we should know what generative AI is. So in a broad spectrum of what AI is, generative AI is so into boom nowadays. So first let us understand what is the difference between a traditional AI and a generative AI. So usually when you generate, normally you feed data to a normal AI model and it predicts if something is yes or no or something like that. It is traditional AI. But generative AI can generate text, images, maybe user interfaces. So let's see if it can do it or not. So let us take an example of a cake database. So here I'm going to explain what is the difference between both. So when I have a database, cake database, suppose 100 cakes are there. Now I feed this database to a machine learning model. So now let us see if I ask the machine learning model if the cake is fancy, if it is presentable or not presentable. So if I give the first photo, the model returns that it is presentable. But the second image says it is not presentable. So this is what traditional AI do. It can predict out of what you have given as a training set. But if you see what generative AI does is, so I give it as a template that I need a pink cake which has flowers on it. So this is what it will create by itself. This is not in database. This is how it will create. So this is a difference between traditional AI and Gen AI. So nowadays in market, you have heard of lot of these going on. So mostly we have used Chat GPT, Copilot for the code, and Midjourney and DALI for creating images from text. So these are the most popular AI, generative AI tools nowadays.
So we now understand what is generative AI. Can it be used everywhere? The answer is no. So we evaluate use case whether it should use generative AI or not based on two things. One is if AI makes an impact, AI makes a mistake, what is the impact on the business it creates? Is it going to give you a lawsuit or not? The next thing is about the performance. How accurate is it? Is it nearby human or is it performing better than human? So when it is not nearby human and it is very dangerous to use, the impact is a lot, right? You should definitely avoid using generative AI. And when it is like superhuman and it does not have any impact on the business that you're doing, a use case does not impact anything, that time you can automate it. But generative AI is not yet there. So the middle part between both is the major chunk, that is assisting. That's where generative AI is a star at. So now comes the question like, can web development be automated? Pretty much since the starting, this question has been asked a lot of times whenever a new technology comes up. So taking an example of NoCode Builders, right? After 1994, there have been a lot of companies coming up with NoCode Builders like GeoCities, WordPress, the giant, then Squarespace, and then Wix and everything. So yet developers exist. But what has changed? If an artist, for example, or a person who's opening a new bakery wants to create a website, they don't need to pay a developer tens of thousands of dollars. Instead, they go to Squarespace, get it in $20 per month. But Myntra or Axis Bank, for example, any giants, right? They cannot go to Squarespace or WordPress and create their own apps. A similar example happened when GPT-4 was launched. It was a live stream, and the introduction was a live stream, and the presenter took out his phone, took a photo of this particular mock-up, where I can barely read a few things over here. But GPT was able to take this mock-up and create a website of this. So this was really, really remarkable, and this opened a lot of possibilities for similar apps. But let's get one thing straight. Like, are we asking developers to build these type of apps? Not at all. There's a big difference between an HTML document and a full-fledged app. But with the pace that everything is evolving, right? Will Gen AI be able to do full-fledged production apps in 5 years?
So have you ever used Bing Chat or Chat GPT? So the responses which you will get will be 80% correct. And the 20% bias, OpenAI called it as hallucinations. So if you are a programmer, you know what a hallucination is and what an accurate code is. But for a non-programmer, they won't be knowing if the code is accurate or hallucinated. So let's see what all generative AI can create and what all it cannot, according to our opinion. So let us take an example of a portfolio website which doesn't have any interactive components. It just have my resume or something like that. Yes, generative AI can do it. If we take an example of a dental website, suppose for a doctor, I need to book an appointment, I need to book slots. It just has 2 interactive components. Yes, generative AI can do it. But if we go to more complex things like a chess game or some other game, snake and ladder, where you have to put some models, some strategies for the game playing. So will generative AI be able to do it? We tried with it. It was not able to. So we are still dubious, like in future, will it able to create it or not? So let us take another example. Suppose a production ready example is there. Something like Swiggy, Zomato, some food delivery app. Will ChatGPT, generative AI, GPT will able to do something like this? No, it cannot create something which is so interactive, so complex. So it is not able to create something like this. So the question comes is, if it is not able to create something, so how do we use it? How AI is going to change the developer's work? So if you see this photo has been created by Midjourney, or you can use ClipDrop. So what this Midjourney do is, it will take your text and convert it to an image, which is AI generated. So if I generally give a robot and a human, it won't be giving this image. So to get this image also, I have to be so creative. I have to give a prompt, which will in turn give me this image. So I have to tell AI, I have to pair with AI so that to give this result. So on the web development side, we will see how we can use generative AI. So in a normal day-to-day life, when a UI developer write code, there are a lot of redundant code and there is logic. If that redundant code can be written by AI, generative AI, so the time will be reduced and we have a lot of efficiency to use that time to work on some other logic. The second thing will be, suppose I have a bug in my code. Now, what I usually do is, as my personal thing, I put that code to GPT and ask for the bug, like why this bug was there. So it will tell me why it was there and how can I solve it. 100 times it won't be able to give me the correct answer, but it can at least analyze what the bug is. So this is how I can use it for resolving my bugs. Also for the test scenarios, suppose I am writing test cases for a specific piece of code and I missed one of the test case. But when I give it to generative AI, it will tell me these are all the test cases which can be written around this specific piece of code. So that's where we can use generative AI. For documentation purpose also, we can use generative AI, but not for like totally replacing a developer also.
So this is a survey conducted by McKinsey on some experiment. So you can see the code documentation part, which is very simple for any developer to do. So over there, generative AI is doing really good job, and our time is being reduced by around 45 to 50%. Like as the complexity increases through code generation, refactoring, and high complexity tasks, right? Generative AI is not able to like replace us kind of thing. It's not able to help us a lot. So on an average, around 20 to 30% for a developer is going to like be eased out. So what are we going to do with this 20 or 30% productivity? So every app or a project has its own backlogs always. So we can start resolving that. We can start writing quality code. We can start fixing more bugs, which in turns, or we can start creating a lot of more softwares, which in turns creates more revenue, which makes applications more cheaper. So our verdict on this is like, jobs are not going to change, but job descriptions are going to change.
Always said that generative AI can be 100% confident, but not 100% accurate. So today AI can help human, tomorrow human help AI, but AI can never replace a human. So with this, we will end our talk. Thank you everyone for joining us.